I'm going to really kind of start with some mindset-y stuff, but bridge into how that can practically apply to your business. And so we're going to be talking about attracting the students that you love to teach. And I'm coming here not as someone with a business or marketing degree. I'm coming here as a regular old horse trainer, riding instructor who has gone through the process of transforming my own business. And I want to share how I did it and how you guys can do it too. Before we get started, because I know you guys have been sitting, you maybe had a minute to get up while we were fussing with the technology, but is there something you can do in like 10 seconds to just adjust how you're sitting or move a little bit or stretch, or just even if you're not sure and you think maybe you're in the most comfortable position, is there something you can try to change, even if you just change it back? But is there anything you can adjust? And I see wiggling, so that's cool. All right, so does anybody feel just even slightly more comfortable than you were 10 seconds ago? Okay, so I'm seeing some nodding. And this is something that's I find fascinating, is that sometimes there's this possibility to be a little bit better right there in front of you, and sometimes it takes somebody just to nudge you a little bit to go, hey, is there, whoa, I just got louder. Is there something that you can switch? So this is going to be the theme of taking little bits of information to remind you that there's these little dials you can turn all the time to improve things. So attracting the students you love to teach, that's me. That's me. So that was at a clinic in Netherlands and then a clinic in Australia just this past year. And I don't know, we all look pretty happy, right? So when we think about building our business, it's about revenue, it's about profit, but for me, it's really about creating a life that I can love and enjoying the process of it. And so I want to just share a little bit of my story. There's me as a little kid in love with horses, and I love that picture because it's kind of the essence of who I am, who I've always been, and who I am now, and it's a really important part of my business. But going from there and just being a horse crazy kid, very long story short, I got good at some stuff. And I love Daniel said that dressage is the key to everything. Yes. All right, so I fell in love with dressage. I mean, I remember writing in my journal, like, horses can go sideways. This is amazing. So I had some semblance of success, right? What people would call success. I got a medal hung around my neck at one point, and I, got to compete, and my students competed, and we got all the things that you measure success by. And as an instructor, I was successful, which in the horse world is often like waitlist of students and exhausted, right? Yeah, you're nodding. Like that means successful. And I looked around and said, yeah, that's what successful looks like. That's what all the successful trainers look like. They all look exhausted, and they have a wait list, and they have more horses to ride than they know what to do with. So it was all really fun until it wasn't, right? So maybe some of you can relate to this. Like, I did what I was supposed to do to be a successful horse trainer until in my mid-30s. I was working as hard as I possibly could, physically and otherwise. I was completely exhausted. My body had a lot of pain, and I couldn't see a way out. I couldn't make ends meet, and there I was. And so I told last night a story about just breaking down on the side of the road. I didn't have enough money to fix my car. I had to call my boss to come pick me up, and he's just kind of like, if I give you more money, I make less money, and that was it. And so, unfortunately, even though that should have been, a really big turning point, it wasn't. And I kept doing it for a few more years because I didn't have any role models in the horse industry to look to. I didn't have anybody to talk to about it. Like, who do you talk to about business and things like money? And I looked around and I didn't see another way. So this is back in the late 90s, crossing 2000. So at some point, I kept going long enough that I was ready to quit horses entirely. That's it. I've had it. I had another little career choice that was I originally was going to do. Maybe I'll do that. And I just went away for a little bit, changed my scenery, took my horse and just a couple student horses, changed my environment, and I sat there thinking, well, first I started to have a little more fun because I was a little bit free of where I was working and how I was working, and it gave me just enough brain space to make my list of demands. So I thought, all right, if I'm going to do something in the horse business, here's my list of demands. I will only do the horse business if I own my own horses. I was riding everybody else's horses and couldn't afford my own. Well, I had one that someone gave me. I'm going to prioritize time for my horses because that one horse that someone gave me always got put last. If I have time, then I'll do that horse. And I saw everybody else doing that too, all the other trainers. I want my horses at home, which meant I somehow had to own property. I was renting and living out on my horse trailer at this point. But I didn't want my property to be a boarding facility. Where I worked was 15 acres and had 80 horses on it and full of boarders. I'm like, I'm an introvert actually, so I'm like, I do not want to be a boarding facility. I want to work with a student and their horse together as a team. I don't want to do horse sales. Nothing wrong with horse sales. I just emotionally can't deal with it. So again, this list is not like the perfect list. This is my list. Your guys' list is going to be completely different. So don't think that I'm saying this is right or wrong. But I didn't want to be involved in horse sales. I wanted to make my own schedule and be as flexible as I wanted. I wanted privacy at home. So that connects with the not wanting to be a boarding facility. And I wanted free time for a non-horse life. And anybody having trouble translating what those last 4 words mean? There's life beyond horses. So I kind of sat there, wrote this list like, so there, show me this and maybe I'll stick in the horse business. But wait, there's more. I had more demands. So I thought about who I wanted to work with. So I wanted positive-minded students. I wanted optimistic students. Where I worked in New York, I worked with a lot of people who would commute in from Manhattan. There was a lot of stressed out people where I worked. I wanted engaged learners. I remember once I had a student who I would pour my heart and soul into having her get her schoolmaster round, and I heard her talking in the tack room to other boarders and saying, it was amazing, Karen got me to get my horse on the bit and I didn't even want to. So none of those anymore. I want really engaged learners. I wanted people who were prioritizing the partnership with their horse. No more make and force and what's wrong with this horse. I wanted people who, amen, who really prioritize the partnership. I didn't want to fix anybody's horses. I didn't want someone to bring me a horse, say, you fix it, and then I pour my heart and soul into it, I open up the horse, I get it going better, and then they say, oh, by the way, I'm picking it up on Tuesday, and they never watch what I'm doing. I want them to be self-motivated. I want them to be working on stuff, and then come to me and go, Karen, can you help me with stuff? Yes, I can do that. I want them interested in progressing, not just putting me on their calendar for entertainment every Thursday. And I want students who want to enjoy the process. You got to remember, I come from the dressage world, and somehow it's often equated that dressage requires a certain amount of suffering and can tend to attract that kind of person. So I'm like, I just want to be around people who want to enjoy the process. So again, I'm sitting there going, yeah, show me this and I'll stay in the horse business. Meanwhile, I was free to explore different ways of riding and training. I had stumbled into natural horsemanship, whatever that means, and more partnership-based training. And so I was away from this environment all by myself in this leasing a place in Florida. And I thought, well, I'm going to do my bridleless riding. I'm going to play with Liberty. And of course, I want to do dressage too, but I'm going to do it differently. I'm going to do it my way. I'm going to have fun because this is supposed to be the fun part. And so I found myself knowing that I wanted to be that little kid in love with horses, and I really love to do dressage. So I'm not sure how that's going to combine, because this is back in the late 90s, early 2000s, and dressage and partnership training were very much at opposite ends of the spectrum. So I found myself feeling quite alone, right? So I can always tell when people get it. Yeah, so the dressage people are like, well, she doesn't do real dressage anymore because she just ran off and joined the circus. And then the natural horsemanship where people were like, be careful, she's a dressage rider. She doesn't have a sense of humor. No, somebody told me that after they bothered to talk to me. Anyway, so I'm feeling pretty alone, and my potential pool of students that started out, that big, got smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, and then there's my niche now. And my possibilities for how to actually make money was almost completely ripped out. And that's where I was in like 2004. So interesting place to be, right? But, my advice to people when I talked to the VIP group last night was like, don't wait till you're totally burned out before you change things. But here's the good part of waiting till you're totally burned out before you change things. You got nothing to lose. And you're going to take more courageous action and more bold action because you're already at the bottom, and I'm ready to quit, so I might as well just try this. But if you can somehow get yourself to get to that place and make it important beforehand, that would be one of my first pieces of advice. So here I was all alone with my funny little way of doing horses with my strong criterias and sticking with it. And then a really strange thing started to happen. People connected with it. I didn't care, but I didn't care in a really strong way. I'm like, this is just how I do things. And this is my criteria. And people connected. They'd never heard someone talking about healthy movement and partnership with their horse. So the people that it did connect to, it really connected to. And so by me not talking about myself that I'm just a dressage trainer and being so bold to say, this is what I do and this is how I do it, and I don't really care what you think, this is what happened. So all of a sudden, I was being, these people were coming to me. They were the people that I wanted to work with. And it's not like I ran an ad that said, you've got to be this, this, and this. It just kind of was out there. And it was what I was projecting because of what I was knowing to be true in my heart. And so here come all these people. Now, I couldn't teach them all one-on-one. That's not enough hours in a day. So I started to really think about, well, how can I teach them in groups? And at the same time, the way I'm teaching is changing. So the way I'm transmitting the information, because I want them to learn it and know it, I realize can actually happen better in groups. Now, coming from dressage, like group lessons are less than. And I had to really change that belief. I'm okay to believe like, oh, group lessons are less than. No, they are not only not less than, but I think in many, many ways, they're more than. So it's a matter of different tools and when are you going to use the different tools. So long story short, I started thinking, hey, this shit works. So let's just keep going. And I ended up writing a book and making a companion video. I wrote the book mostly for myself to figure out what the heck my new system was with these two opposite things. In 2010, I made my first subscription video website. Now, 2010, the iPhone came out in 2007. There was no Kajabi, there was no Memburium, there was no Miracle software, there was no, we had to build this thing and figure it out. Then I started doing online courses. I realized at the end of my clinics, I would sit back on the last day, and my students would go around and tell me what they're doing and when they got it. I was like, you guys tell me, because that's what I'm doing. I'm empowering them to independently problem solve. And so I was like, well, if by the end of the clinic, they're all figuring it out, like I can do that virtually. If I can do it to a group, I can do it virtually. So I experimented with that and hugely successful. So then I have a blog. I started taking what I know and helping other horse professionals to create fulfilling and sustainable and profitable lives they can live in the horse business. Did that in 2017, and then I started a podcast. yeah, so that's a whole bunch of stuff that I'm doing. That's sort of my business model now. I tell people I don't teach, except when I do, with the people I really get excited about working with. So it's hugely leveraged. So how did I go from like one-on-one, one-on-one writing lesson instructor to this is what I'll start to share. But even more important than like, look at me and all my stuff, like this is the piece. This is the heart. All the business and revenue and fancy things and programs you have, like they've got to lead you to a destination that you want to go to. And there's lots of different ways to measure your success. You might have a revenue goal. You might, you guys are going to have different ones. This is not the right one. This is just mine. This is my happy place. To have the time and the trust in my financial security enough that there's a lot of time for me just to feel like I'm sitting down with the beings I love and enjoy the surroundings. Like that's it. I could just live on my property as a little hermit with my little family. I'd be perfectly happy. So I think we have to know what it is that we're aiming for. And along with this, I mentioned this yesterday, and it always seems kind of shocking, so I'll say it again. I ride my own horses every morning, first thing, top priority. I call it my sacred horse time. Up, out, my horses. That gets me to lunch. After lunch, I'm free to do whatever else. Saturdays are non-horse days. Weekends are husband first weekends. So that's my life. I remember when it was hard to take 24 consecutive hours off in a week. We'll talk about time a little bit later today. So when I was going through this process of changing my business, again, I didn't get a lot of help from people in the horse industry. And that's why I'm so excited to be here. It's why I started helping other horse professionals. It's kind of a passion project. So when I help other professionals try to make these changes in their business, there's kind of 4 main categories. One is to be able to own your unique value. What is it about you that's attracting the clients that you love to work with the most? What is the thing that makes your heart sing when you deliver it? I don't get excited by teaching a 1-hour lesson. I get excited about empowering people and finding harmony and stuff like that. The other big piece is leverage. How can we move from one-on-one to group or one-to-many? And when you know your unique value, it actually opens up more opportunities for leverage. Because if I think what I do is teach riding lessons, then I have to keep teaching riding lessons, 1-hour lessons. But if I know I'm delivering the value of empowerment or finding harmony or independent problem solving, that opens up a lot of vehicles to do that. There's lots of different ways that I could deliver that value, and many of them are leveraged. Time management, big piece, we'll talk about that later, and it's really a lot around healthy boundaries around time and honoring your own time. And then the art of learning to get help. This one was hard for me. I don't know about you guys, but like I can do it. Oh, I got this, right? So I had to really learn how to get help on lots of different levels. So there's lots of different pieces. So this is what I call my blueprint for transformation. So there's creating a system, mastering leveraging, marketing, packaging, team, owning your unique value. But in the middle there, Brian mentioned this, that I had talked about this yesterday, is like the vision, the passion, the energy. When you surround yourself with the clients that you love to work with the most, to me, that's energizing. Does anybody have clients like when they're on the calendar, you're like, ooh, I can't wait to go work with them? Who here has somebody that you really hope cancels? This is the beauty of being in a group of other horse professionals, is we can actually say that out loud, right? What a business model is like, oh God, I hope they cancel, right? So it's not good for your business if that's what you're hoping. All right, so the vision and the passion and energy is really connected to the knowing your value and attracting the people you love to work with, because you need that at the core to have the energy to get the hard stuff done. And then the packaging around that is the accountability and support. Okay, you're energized. Okay, you're smart, you know stuff. Are you actually going to keep going and take those steps on a regular basis? And are you going to get the help that you need? So we want to, if we have the vision, passion, energy, we want to attract the people. Okay, let's do it. How do we actually do the marketing stuff? And in this business, I don't know if it's true in other industries, but marketing can have a really bad rap. Have you ever heard someone say, oh, they're just about the marketing, right? If their marketing is too good, too slick, too whatever, I don't know, people are measuring it, they'll say that market, they're just about the marketing. If you were really good, you wouldn't have to market. Have you heard stuff like that? So, and a lot of times, like I work up with a lot of heart-centered horse professionals because I ask for it. I help heart-centered horse professionals create lives they can love. And there's a lot of humbleness, and people have trouble saying, look at me, I'm the best at this. And then I don't really want to run that ad. Let's just put $20 into it. I don't really want anybody to think that I think that I'm the best. So this is what a lot of people think that marketing is, right? They think that it's the art of tricking someone into thinking that you're better than you really are. And let's face it, there are marketers out there who do that. But marketing to me is not that. Marketing to me is just knowing who you are, what you do, and shining it with so much power that when that light lands on someone, they're like, oh, that's it. That's exactly what I've been looking for. And if we're not doing it that way, it's going to feel inauthentic. We're going to have imposter syndrome, and then we're not going to do it. We're going to have that little doubt, that little belief in the back of my head, well, I'm not really the best. And I still cringe at words like that. I'm the best. I'm like, no, I'm not the best. I'm not the best. I don't know who's measuring that, but here's what I do. And I'm going to shout that loudly and clearly, but I've got to know it on the inside. So the tendency is to make marketing really generic, to cast a wide net, and to underestimate yourself. So I have this thing, 15 things to stop doing. It's free. You can sign up for it if you want. But 3 of the things on that list are doubting that you have, to stop doubting that you have something unique to offer. Stop keeping yourself a secret because you don't like marketing, and stop undervaluing and undercharging for your time.
I put that on my refrigerator.
Awesome. Yeah.
I love it.
I mean, that's the thing. You just get it, print it out, stick it up there, right? So, because everybody like, I'm too busy. I can't work on my business right now. I'm too busy. I'm like, great. Here's 15 things to stop doing. Clever, huh? All right. So we're going to start getting into it now. So if we want to attract the clients that we love, we need to know what we do. And probably you guys can describe what you do. You probably put that on a flyer or a website. But here's the question. What do you really do? What do you really do? And what you really do is so much more interesting than what you do. And it's so much harder to figure out, because what you really do is as obvious as the nose on your face, and we cannot see our own noses unless we look in a mirror. So here's an example. If I sit on an airplane and the guy next to me is maybe chatty and he goes, so what do you do? And I don't feel like talking. Here's what I'll say. I give horseback riding lessons. Right? And then he says, I got bucked off once by a horse. And then I say, yeah, that happens. And then I don't have to talk to him the whole rest of the flight. All right, so that's what I do. I do that. But what I really do, but what if I say, like, what do you do? Like, my business empowers people to find more harmony. And I just sit there and like, well, what do you mean by that? Oh, thank you for asking. Yeah, I work with horses and they're humans. And a lot of the principles and concepts I teach affects them with their horses, but it also affects, brings more harmony to their lives. Really? Now we got something to talk about, right? So, and that's an interesting conversation. Now I'm talking on another level. I used to just literally go, horseback riding lessons, please don't say you're into horses because I don't want to talk to you. All right, so like I said, it's harder than you think to figure out what you do. So when well, let's just go on with that. So when you think about what you really do, is there anything that's bubbling up? Like when I say that, like what you really do, or any of you going, oh yeah, I know what that means, or some of you like, I'm not sure, right? So when you start practicing this, you're going to start just writing down anything that you do, like just whatever pops into your head, write a whole list, and then we'll go through a process of kind of distilling it and refining it. So I'll give you an example of how this can show up in your marketing. So to remind you, I had gone through this process. I'm like, wow, I'm all about empowerment. I'm about partnership. I'm about harmony. I'm about movement. I'm about happiness. So again, like, would this be the marketing that I would use if I wanted people to go in, right? So no, I don't give riding lessons. So then I could say, well, you know, I'm a dressage trainer. I do dressage. So I'll go get some, you know, stock clip art and put it out there, and I can get anybody who's interested in dressage, because now they'll know, like, I do dressage, that's what I do. But, you know, would that really be expressive of me? Especially if I pick such horrible looking pictures. These exist. I did not make this up. I just Googled like dressage logo, and like that stuff came up. So now, even if you are like a straight-on dressage trainer and you really do want a lot of just anybody who does dressage, I'll still tempt you that there's something about how you teach dressage that's unique. Even if you're this person, maybe you work with beginners and you really want the people who would use, I want to go take riding lessons. Maybe that's what you do. There's still something about how you teach riding lessons that's what you really do that's going to be different. So you can use something like that to purposely bring in a wide net, but you still, if you want to really love what you do and attract the students you want, figure out how you can explain that in a better way. So then I started going, okay, well, I'm not just a dressage trainer anymore. So this is the first logo I made. I thought it was so clever back in 2003. I do dressage and natural horsemanship, so I'm going to put those two words together and draw a little picture. So I did, and that actually at that point was kind of enough, because it was so odd to put those two things together that it was attention getting. But at some point it wasn't enough, and I had to do a lot of explaining. What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? So I thought, okay, few iterations later, this was something I used a lot. So from partnership to Piaffe, empowering you and your horse to be the best you can be. And the be the best you can be is a little bit generic, but the images can say so much, right? So bridleless, bitless, bareback. So that said a lot, and that did a lot of the heavy lifting. I'm like, just look at the picture, that's what I do. But also notice, so a similar logo, I changed it a little bit, a little more artsy rather than a rubber stamp. But still kind of yelling at you with the font. But notice now it's smaller. So I'm focusing on the destination. This is what you're going to get. And this is what I'm going to do for you. By the way, that's what I'm called. And I didn't put my name a lot on things. So I'm like, it's not about me. I recommend putting your name on stuff. But anyway, so this is, one of my business mentors described it or said it as, always tell people about the destination, not the plane. So people want to know, where are you taking them? This is where I'm taking them. And I do it through a subscription website, a book, online courses. But I don't want to say, hey, do you want to do some online courses? Do you want to watch a whole bunch of videos? They're like, I don't know. You got to talk about where are you taking them. So you want to be yourself. That matters, but then equally as important, or maybe a little bit more, is where are you taking them? So focusing on them. So this is the logo I updated in the last couple years. So just as a logo, it's a little more playful, right, in the font, a little happier. There's a little heart in that horse. There's a swoop. The joke around here is I have to put a swoop in everything, which kind of for me denotes like it's a journey, we're going somewhere, but it also has a little protective, like it's a safe learning environment. And those things were important to me. So in my website now, enjoy the process, learn to move in harmony with your horse, right? And so I just blew that up so you could see it. Eye contact, looking right in the camera. Why? Because relationship is important to me. I'm like, I'm looking at you, and so is the horse. Like, we're both here for you. And then, yeah, I can ride. Further down on the page, creating happy athletes, love your horse, enjoy learning, move in harmony. What's your dream for your horse? Little kid in love with horses. How unprofessional. That was a quote, that was a joke. That was sarcasm, right? I mean, maybe. Pony Club people are like, oh my God, don't show that, right? It's dangerous. Do I care? Like, this is what I do. This is what I do, and I'm not going to worry what, somebody else is thinking. This is what I do. And yeah, I can do fancy things too. So it's getting more to the heart of what I'm promising that people will experience. And there's a lot of words there, like your dream, happy, but athletic, right? Creating, that word itself. Love, enjoy, move in harmony, learning. So there's very few words on these pages. I mean, there's more words on my website. I promise I can put down some words. But one of the things that I love to do, and this is a great exercise to do when I tell people how to, or help people with their websites, is I say, try to write it like a caveman. Write it like a caveman. If you can distill down, so start just by writing all the stuff you do and all the stuff you love, and then distill it down. And if you can make, 3-word sentences, you're onto something. You can always add more words. The hard part is distilling it. But when you can distill it, and when you read those words and you're like, yeah, like every word that I've showed you there, I'm like, yes, and I will defend it in court. Yes, I am so positive this is what I do, and this is what I can help you with. So again, knowing myself and knowing what I offer, knowing what's in my heart is going to directly affect my marketing. And so this stuff, again, it's hard because sometimes we need mirrors. I had someone who worked with me who had a riding lesson program. I mean, she really was like first time with horses. And she was working on her marketing, and it just felt so clunky and cold, and we just talked to her more about what she's doing, and she was talking about like how she was helping little kids with their emotions, if they were scared of the horse, or if they were self-conscious, all these things, and she was helping them right there in those little moments in the context of horses. And she had that nowhere on her website. She was like, I give up, down riding lessons. And then when we change that, it's life-changing. For her, it's like, oh, I can say that. Yes, you can and you must. So here's some of the stuff I use when I advertise the program I have where I mentor other horse professionals. For the love of the horse, transform your business. Create a fulfilling, sustainable, profitable life you can love in the horse business. You're going to see this gesture a lot in my marketing. Right? So the logo, yes, a human and the horse, and they're holding a heart. How unprofessional and unbusinesslike. There's me, transform your business. Yes, there's the result. And I work a lot with people who are on their own, exhausted, feel like they have no one to help them. They think their challenges are they're alone in their challenges. They're the only ones who can't figure out how to do this. Everybody else is better than them. So for me, I know that seeing that there's a group, you're not alone. Look how happy they look. Look how happy I look. Like it's going to be business, but don't worry. It's not going to be horrible and serious and hard. Well, it's going to be hard, but it won't be serious. We'll be lighthearted. And so, images like this, I empower heart-centered horse professionals to create fulfilling, sustainable, and profitable lives they can love in the horse business. I am so strong in that. And that took a long time to craft that silly sentence. But by doing it, I do it until it lands. Until I'm like, yes. When I look at that, I'm like, yes, beyond a shadow of a doubt, absolutely. And you might think, okay, that's nice, whatever. Does it really make that big a difference? Well, here's some marketing, right? And I do help people make money with horses, but like, oh gosh, that's so different, right? That would be a completely different set of marketing. And you maybe could hire a marketer and say, hey, I help people make money in the horse business, and they might come up with this. Here's some graphics I got off of Shutterstock. So even if you're going to hire someone to do your website and they're fancy and they know how to do it and they're marketers, you're going to save a lot of money if you do this work of really knowing who you are. Give the marketing person the sentence, say, listen, these are the 5 things that are really important to me. These are the key sentences you need to use, because when they see that, they're going to go find different images. Better yet, you can find some images yourself and say something like this, and here's why I like these images. Here's why I like these images and these images. Here's why I did my logo that way. And here's why I hate that, and never put a picture like that on my website again. Thank you. So I've made the mistake of spending way too much money hiring fancy designers and marketers before I thought somehow they're going to be able to see into who I am. Well, they're not. So again, be more you. And there's some pillars that make me me that I also have taken some time to look at, and probably some of them are showing up here. So one is live in possibility, an optimistic growth mindset. Like, I can't not be that way. I am annoyingly optimistic. If you want to like pout and tell me how terrible a thing is, I love Daniel's thing. You know, I'll wait 3 minutes, let you do it, and then we're going to start looking at how we're going to make it better. So, and life is a lesson in lightness is another one of the things that makes me me. Those are sometimes annoying. Sometimes people can see that as maybe unprofessional. I don't care. I can't not be that way, right? So to find the things that about you that make you you beyond a shadow of a doubt, and like let them happen. So I'm not afraid. Students, you know, what is it about me that your clients love? I am so optimistic. I am so empowering. Like, I will do whatever it takes. This is on one of the videos of my online courses, where I'm explaining the difference between collected and working gaits and extended gaits. And so, yeah, I'm doing it. And then I just thought, I told my husband, I'm like, wouldn't it be cool if I put the horse mask on? Yeah, let's do it. And then who actually ends this in the final video? I was really hot. It was hard to breathe in that thing. This is me teaching in Poland, where the language wasn't so clear, so I just like acted everything out. Why? Because I will make sure you get it, I promise. So how do you start to get a hint about what your clients love about you? So what is the value? What's your unique value that you really do? You listen to them. So I'm going to share some quotes that people sent me in emails when I was thinking that I was a dressage trainer. I feel more joy. I'm finally in harmony with my horse. That's strange, you're taking a dressage lesson. Thank you for this personal growth journey. Personal growth, I'm not one of those personal growth mindset people. I'm a dressage trainer, right? I don't want to be a personal growth person back then. But I'm like, why is she saying that? We were working on shoulder in. I'm free from the fear of making mistakes. I'm like, okay, but you sure made a lot. I'm glad you're not free. I mean, I'm using the voice of me back then. But I'm like, noticing. I have faith in my abilities again. Interesting. This has been life-changing. I've never been happier. Whoa, that's weird. I now love learning with my horses. Can you see how this is showing up now in my marketing? So I actually resisted this because I'm a dressage trainer. I'm serious. I'm a woman of action and athleticism. I'm not a, mindset person. But the people who were thriving with me knew this about me before I knew about it. It was as obvious as the nose on my face. They could see it. I couldn't see it. I resisted. So when things all started evolving, a big part of the process was me going, maybe I need to listen. What are these? Because I love working with these people, and why not these people? And I started to slowly just embrace that maybe this really is what I'm doing, and I can't not do it, and that changed everything. It was like the floodgates open, the confidence, the passion, because I wasn't suppressing my real self down there, and I was letting myself say, yeah, you're going to be empowered, and I'm not going to hide that. So it's your turn. So I'd love you to jot down. Start with, who do you love to work with and why? And you might have a description, or it might just be a name. Susie, I love to work with Susie. Just jot it down. You'll know what you mean. And then later you can dig in, like, why? What is it about that person? Who do you love to work with? So just top of your head, don't overthink it, and go into it more deeply later for sure. And then while you're on this one, sometimes the next question can even help you learn more about the first one, is who do you hope cancels? You all admitted it. Write down a name and then some qualities, just to remember, like, oh yeah, that kind of person. And then what is it about them? It's not that they're inherently bad, it's just for whatever reason, why are they not a good match? Why are they draining your energy? All right. And then the next one, and just make sure you write down the questions or take a picture of it. Like, what do you really do with everything that I've been talking about so far? Like, what's your thing? What do you really do? What's the thing that almost feels like a secret, almost feels maybe like you can't say it out loud? Some of you, it might be like you might have that right at your fingertips. Others, you might be thinking, I can't say that. Like, what do you really, really do? What's the thing that lights you up? Which, and maybe that you wish you could actually talk more about or do more of. But you think you can't because that's not what a riding instructor does. That's not what a dressage trainer does. So the what you really do is connected to the value that you really bring. So just jotting down words, phrases, brain dump it, just get something on the paper. You can sometimes think about the people who have thrived the most in your program. What did you really do for them? And what did they say? So this is, listen to the people. When they send you the email or they go, oh my God, thank you so much, what are they saying? And really, really look at it. Keep a file of those. Circle the phrases, highlight the phrases. That's marketing. That's your marketing resource right there. And then the last one is, what are the quirks that make you so you? And believe me, like, I have been criticized for being optimistic, because sometimes I've had to learn that, like, there's times and places to be optimistic, and don't silver lining everything, because sometimes stuff really sucks. Even if you really believe it's going to get better or lead to something good, I have to hold back for a minute. So what are your quirks? Because that's also my strongest asset. So what are some of the quirks that make you so you? Are you so anally detail-oriented that sometimes drives people crazy? My husband's very preparation and detail-oriented, which drives me nuts, except when I need it. So it's about timing. And I'll have to give him ideas, and I say, this is not a time for details. No details, nod and smile. I literally say that. It's like, nod and smile, I just need to say this out loud. And then he'll sit there like this. And then he's like, now? I'm like, no, tomorrow. And then I'll hear the details and the consideration. So that's his superpower, which is also very quirky and annoying. But it's valuable. It's valuable. All right. So I'd love if you could just discuss. So turn to a neighbor, someone behind you, in front of you, next to you, and just talk about this, like whatever you just thought of. Just chat for a minute with each other and say, how could that show up in your marketing? I mean, you might be like, oh, I could change what I say on that sentence or that flyer. I could change these images. Just chat for a minute. It'll take a couple minutes. And just learn from each other, because you're all going to have different ideas. How could this show up more in your marketing? Was that helpful to discuss that? Get it out of your head? I'd love to hear if anybody got some new ideas. Or, yeah.
So, what I put down was, I'm too woo-woo. That was my fear. I'm too woo-woo. But what I started realizing when I was talking to people is what I teach people is how to do magic.
Fine. Yeah. We've all felt magical moments with horses, right? It's there. Who wouldn't want to know how to do that more? Yeah, anybody else? Thanks.
The marketing line for that is just horses are magic.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, how you craft the sentence, like that, getting those 3 words just right. But if you know you want to convey that you're going to help people feel the magic,
Yeah.
yeah. And then, little tip, like, how does your customer phrase that? What's the words that they're using? And so we do these by accident. Oh my God, that ride was so magical. Or what's the phrase? Like, use that. Little pro tip. Anybody else? Yeah. Find a new, yeah.
So this past week, I had a customer say to me that I should be a personal trainer while she was on her horse. So that's kind of what I do. I just use horses as the method to get you to be more physically fit
Okay.
and mentally tough. So when you were talking about like listen to what other people are saying to you, I was like, okay, that's kind of what
Yeah.
people have been saying to me.
Yeah, so her students are saying you're like a personal trainer on my horse, and you're like, yeah, that's what I do. But like, it's when you're saying it, it sounds so obvious. Like, yeah, that is what I do. I'm like, wait, I haven't told anybody that. Yeah. And people can relate to that. If you're like the personal trainer, with your horse or however you want to do it, it's like people like, oh, I get that immediately. Yeah, very cool. Thanks. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And tell people who we are.
Yes. What was that thing? Stop keeping yourself a secret, right? I've had so many people I work with who, when we go through the process and really digging out what lights them up, what was the gesture you went, and it just came to me. Like, there was joy, there was energy. And then, then sometimes the brain gremlin will be like, you can't really do that. You can't say that. Like, be ready for that, because we go, shut up, brain gremlin, I'm on to something here. Yeah, but just, getting it out of your head, saying it out loud. Cool. Anybody else have something they want to share from that little discussion? Okay. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
So I just remember.
Yeah. Yeah, because all of our life experience informs what we do. Like, we can't leave it out. You're gonna have a unique perspective because of all your past experience. All of it. I mean, it's all affecting our lives, so we might as well own it. And that's interesting. It took her student writing a blog about her for her to see herself, because it's as obvious as a nose on your face, which you can't see without a mirror. So fascinating working through that. But I wish you guys could see the expressions that I'm seeing, because it's just like, oh my gosh, there's like this, like, oh my gosh, like Christmas Eve kind of like, what if I went that direction more? So cool. So these, like I said, these questions that I gave you are sometimes some of the hardest ones, but it's worth going into. It's going to have a huge effect. And this is why, I mean, if you had asked me 10 years ago if I would be mentoring horse professionals to transform their business, I'd be like, you're nuts. I'm not qualified. I'm not a business person. But then after going through it and realizing, okay, I don't have a degree in business, I don't have a degree in marketing, but here's what I do know, and here's what I know about myself. If I know it and I know it works, I can help you with it, and I will help you with it, and I'll try to figure out a way that you can be empowered and you can do it. And that's what I say. I don't say I'm the best, most highly qualified business person. I'm like, hey, here's what I've lived, here's what I know can help, and I'll set up a system that can do it. And so that's why when I did so it's about doing your business and your life on purpose. So on purpose, but also aligned with your purpose, right? And think of how much more energizing and passionate you can be when you do it that way. So again, there's the vision, passion, energy, all this stuff we got to learn to do, and we got to handle, and we got to get the website, and we got to get the marketing, we got to get the leveraging, and we got to create, team, all of that stuff. Vision and passion, energy drives it, and without the accountability and support, it's just a bunch of information and stuff you got to do on your to-do list. So again, I'm so solid in what I do. So I've done this 2017, I started doing this. I've done live events very much like this. I also did a 6-month intensive mastermind that was like $7,000-8,000. And then recently I changed it again because I felt like that was a big impactful investment, and like what Katie was talking about, like it was a big freaking deal and a big investment, and people made huge changes, but I also saw there were a lot of people who just needed to get going. They just needed the first step. They just needed to get out of overwhelm, or they had some projects going and they just needed some accountability. I just need to show up and know that there's some built-in accountability. So my recent iteration of it is what I call an action and support group. And so we have monthly group calls where we do stuff like you just experienced, like let's see what's going on, throw it out to the group, discuss. I've got tutors in there. I do have somebody with a business degree that's one of the coaches in there. And then we do 4 times a year, we do bonus expert calls. So there's some key training, so it's like an online course, plus you get the monthly Q&A, open Q&A masterminding calls, quarterly live calls on different subjects, whatever the group needs usually. And so the whole point is to keep you going when you feel stuck and give you confidence, right? And then bring clarity. You know, what's the next step? I just am getting all muddled in my mind. So we know once a month you show up, we can get it out of your head and clarify it. And so there's the QR code, or you can jot down dressagenaturally.net/TYB, or if you find me in the back of the room, I have a little piece of paper that has it on it. But you can see what someone like Cindy says, you know, time goes by, I lose focus, and, you know, just having, you know, this group helps me refocus and keep going every month. So it's $99 a month. You have access to the training, monthly live calls, quarterly live calls, Facebook community. The next calls are October 9th is our monthly call, then again on the 13th. October 30th, I'm doing a bonus workshop where we'll actually craft the language on your webpage. We'll do that caveman exercise and we'll try to make some real changes. I'll look at anybody's website who they want me to look at. Event special, I mean, come on, no brainer, right? So, I mean, 99 is already, you know, very good, but I thought for this group during the event, if you just want in, you just want to get on some calls and make sure you can show up somewhere, be in the community, and just have some people to talk to. My goal, again, this is a passion project for me, is to make it simple and easy. So the code is just event when you're doing checkout, and it's like $29 for the first month. Just come in and see us. And that is it. So, and I'm not sure what time I'm supposed to be off here, but if there's any questions, all right, well, I either totally confused you or totally answered all your questions. So thank you guys, and I'll be back this afternoon. Yeah.